Recording.
We are on page 212 in the textbook, and on 212 we have our rib cage. At our rib cage here we have our costal cartilages, and we have our ribs. Right here in the middle is going to be our sternum, and then connecting here will be our clavicle. Alright, so let's go ahead and start on the sternum since we have it up. This top portion is manubrium. Manubrium means handle. Here's our sternum. We have 6 to 7 vertebrae here. And when it forms, when you look on page 213, you have two sternal bodies, which fuse in a cephalocaudal direction. So if it's poorly formed, you'll have a hole here, which will be called a sternal foramen. And on the body here, if we go down, we have our xiphoid process. This normally is not calcified unless it's in a very old patient. And moving on from there. The first rib articulates with the manubrium. The rest of the ribs will articulate with the body here. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are true ribs. And then 8 through 12 are false ribs. Numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are typical ribs, because generally you can't really tell the difference between them. Numbers 1 and 2, 11 and 12 are atypical ribs. Alright, so we have our false ribs we covered earlier. 11 and 12 are also your floating ribs. Okay, so turn the page, we go to 214. Let's talk our way through a rib. So here we have the head. This is our neck portion. On the head, we have our facets. On most ribs, there will be 2 facets. Only when it articulates with the first thoracic vertebrae, there will be 1 facet on the thoracic vertebrae body. On the thoracic vertebrae spinal processes, we'll have 1 facet. But on the rest of the bodies, from T2 to T12, we'll have 2 facets, and they're called demifacets for half. So we have our neck. We have our tubercle, or site for muscle attachment. We have our angle. You can tell it's the angle because it's where it changes the angle here. And we have the shaft that comes along, and then we have our junction with the costal cartilage, which will be here. It's our junction with the costal cartilage. On the inferior aspect is a costal groove. This is where our veins, arteries, and nerves will run through on our ribs. And so turning page to the clavicle really quick. So this is our clavicle. In our clavicle we have a handle part, which will be with our manubrium, and then we have an axe head looking part, which will actually go to the acromion. Alright, so this is actually this is a left clavicle. So we have our axe head portion here. Now, we have our sternal end here, our acromial end here. Below, on our sternal end, we're going to have our costal tuberosity, which will articulate with our costal cartilage of number 1. On the acromial end, we'll have our conoid tubercle. Remember, you have your coracoid process. On the ulna, you'll have your coronoid process, and here you'll have your conoid tubercle. Alright, so going...
How does it fit on the mannequin like this?
Like that. Okay. In between here we have our interclavicular ligaments, and then we have our clavocostal ligaments here. Alright, so that covers that portion. We'll be moving on to the scapula.